there's very few negatives or drawbacks for the NFL and its fans in terms of the popularity of the league as we enter the 2022 training camp and then regular season. One of the ones that I would offer to you with the explosion of social media and so many reporting agencies, online, internet only, and television network broadcasts is the overuse of phrases like overrated, overhyped, bust. Most of those phrases that are applied to players and coaches or teams tend to be negative in nature. The video that I'm trying to present to you today and what I hope to convince you of is that one of the most underrated football players in the entire league is Trey Hendrickson, defensive end, outside linebacker for the Cincinnati Bengals. He's entering his second season with the Bengals. Originally was drafted by the Patriots and then traded to the Saints. Every team in the NFL needs someone like Trey Hendrickson, if you ask me. And I'm not talking about just someone who's tenacious, a little nasty and violent, talks a little bit of smack, and then shows an ability to make game-changing plays, even in clutch situations. I want to be specific. I think every team needs a versatile and smart outside linebacker like Trey Hendrickson. Outside linebacker, D-end, whatever you want to call him, he is both. He can play both of those positions, slightly different at certain times. You're an edge defender in pass situations who's typically called an edge rusher, like in the draft process. Every team needs a guy like Trey Hendrickson. I don't care if they have two good edge rushers already. He is extremely balanced. And look, some of the things, and what makes it more impressive, if you ask me, is some of the things he does, they're not just examples of utter physical dominance or like being tremendously blessed with speed and having a ridiculous get-off that threatens offensive tackles with the speed rush every time. Trey Hendrickson is very balanced. He succeeds, if you ask me, by being good at everything. And the combination of his burst, which is underrated, to be honest with you, his tenacity and his pursuit really fits in perfectly with the Bengals defense. Now, I'm going to start this with one play from the AFC title game against the Chiefs. Now, I believe that this might get this video copyright hit, or at least claimed by the NFL. I think it's Baldy's Breakdowns. So I'm going to go through this twice, one time with just pictures, which I don't think will get picked up, and then the second time with video. So if that's a little bit of a turnoff for the video, my apologies. Look, Trey Hendrickson had a sack, or at least half a sack, in every game he played last year, except for 4. I think 3 in the regular season, and then the divisional playoff round against the Titans, he didn't have a sack, but I don't even know that he really should have played in that game. He suffered a concussion the week before against the Raiders and left that game in the third quarter. Let's look at this play. One of the things that he does is he drops off into coverage, and it threatens the offense in a way that's very rare, because who it threatens is it threatens the quarterback's ability to go through his reads. Some people refer to it as processing. We're going to get some pictures here. There's a compressed formation. Initially, the running back is going to mesh with Patrick Mahomes, and Patrick Mahomes is essentially making it look like a backwards RPO, whereby you are having a mesh with the running back who is to the quarterback's right, and then Mahomes is simultaneously looking over here to the left. This was a compressed formation. The inside receiver is running here. The outside receiver is running a snag. This is what I know to be a snag concept. Hendrickson has dropped off, and later on when you get the video, I'll kind of explain the reason why. He's dropped off. He's getting in the window of the snag, which is the angled hook. Here, forcing Mahomes to pump fake. If Hendrickson was just rushing the passer, if he had just rushed the passer, he's probably not in this window, and this ball is thrown to the snag or the angled hook, whatever you want to call it. If Hendrickson flashes too early to the flat route, then they throw it to the angled hook. If Hendrickson just sits in this window, maybe Mahomes throws it out here into the flats, but you appear to have a corner or a DB who's covering that as well. We know what happened on this play. This was a third quarter play, really changed the tone and the tenor of the game. The interception was not made, the interception was not made by Trey Hendrickson. The interception was made by B.J. Hill, number 92. Sorry, I messed this all up. The interception was made by B.J. Hill. The point is, the ball would have probably been delivered if Hendrickson didn't drop off into the window that Mahomes was trying to throw that snag into. Here's the interception being made right here. Again, this is all pictures. I'll show you the video here in a moment, and I'll break it down again in a little bit quicker fashion. I suspect that video is going to get picked up by the NFL's and / YouTube's algorithm, and they're going to claim monetization of my video. Huge play in this game. Of course, we know the Chiefs had scored 3 touchdowns on their first 3 possessions in the first half. Easily could have scored a touchdown to finish the first half. Chose not to settle for a field goal, made a real tactical mistake, and that could have been the impetus for the supposed or rumored confrontation that there was between certain coaches and certain players at halftime. But this was an even bigger moment than that lost points, because this showed the Bengals and showed Mahomes, hey, we can turn you over. So this is the same play. This is just a video version of it. I'm safeguarding this video is what I'm doing. And you'll see the snag concept, angled hook there, and then out into the flats. And then this running back meshing with Mahomes. But some people would say it's a backwards RPO. Fine if you want to say that. I don't think there's actually a read here by Mahomes in terms of whether it's a run-pass play. This is built into certain team systems. But in any case, there you go. There's the mesh. And Mahomes pump fakes now. Why? Because he's not sure what Hendrickson is going to do. If you draw a direct line between Mahomes and that snag, Hendrickson is in that window. Hendrickson is expanding to the flat route, though. By the time that Mahomes recognizes that, it's a little too late. B.J. Hill, number 92, is able to get into the window and deflect the pass for an interception. The awareness level of these guys on the Bengals defense was really high all year long, but definitely in the playoffs. What they were doing a lot of times was rushing 3, and the way you could tell that it was going to happen, I thought I picked up on it in the second half, but I wasn't sure until afterwards, was wherever the 3 technique was. So a 3 technique is outside shade of the guard. That guy's going to rush. The other D tackle is going to rush. And then the other edge player, in this case Sam Hubbard, is going to rush. The defensive end, outside linebacker, whatever you want to call him, to the side of the 3 technique was oftentimes not rushing. So you'll notice a lot of the defensive players are communicating to the D tackles. Number 98 is pushing. Well, he's telling B.J. Hill to expand out to a 3. Essentially, they're just setting up a 1 and a 3. Your classic, over front is the 3 technique, and here he is. So since the 3 technique is to Hendrickson's side, he's going to drop out. Old school philosophies that you've seen many, many times before if you've watched football for decades. Look at the window that Mahomes has. Is Hendrickson going to intercept it? I don't know, but he's definitely threatening Mahomes' path. And if B.J. Hill doesn't deflect the ball, which is a fantastic play by him too, he's also underrated, then if he doesn't deflect it, I think Hendrickson's got a shot to get the interception. I think it would have been his first and only interception of 2021. But you see how he plays it. He's disruptive, and again, possibility for an interception here. As an edge rusher, is that your primary job? No, it's not. Primary job is stopping the run to your side and then rushing the passer effectively. Well, he had 14 sacks last year. Maybe it was 14 and a half. I think it was 14. And had 13 and a half the year before. Great play, huge moment, very versatile guy. One of the things that I've noticed about him since he came to Cincinnati is he makes a lot of plays in clutch moments. And I thought he had a great run in the playoffs. As mentioned before, he suffered a concussion in that Raiders game, in the wildcard game. Just so you know, that play I just showed you is not an anomaly. He had done this before. So there's Hendrickson up to the top. This is against the Ravens late in the season. Josh Johnson is playing quarterback. The running back is on his side. So here's Hendrickson. Here's the running back. Watch the play. Hendrickson has similar impact on this, what looks like a run-pass option. He gets in the window of the same concept. He's not turning around and looking at the tight end, which is Mark Andrews. And by the way, at the end of it, he lays an incredible shot on Josh Johnson. So as the quarterback meshes with the running back, you can see that he's not rushing the passer. His eyes are right here. His instincts, his awareness level, he understands what the play concept probably is. I'm guessing there was some real film study that went into this. You have a flat route by the guy in motion, and then you have a snag by Andrews. And clearly, Hendrickson is in the window between those 2 players for the Ravens. Just great stuff. I think he might be the most underrated player in the NFL who has a huge impact, meaning someone who has statistical impact 14 sacks is a big statistical number, but also has impact beyond that we don't always see. He got a QB hit here, but that's it. There is no statistical recording for getting in the passing window and forcing the quarterback to go away from his read. I think those two plays here are beautiful plays. Of course, I've talked 10 minutes now about them, so if I didn't say that, you obviously understand that. I believe these are tremendously impactful plays that slow up the processing for quarterbacks. Typically on RPOs, you have very easy, quick reads, and I've shown you two examples of Trey Hendrickson slowing down that process. That's a rare trait. I do not see edge players doing this a whole lot in the NFL. You do have another linebacker in the window. I think it's Pratt, who's a really good football player too. But Hendrickson is the guy who interrupts the read, and then he's got a level of nastiness that I love. You may not like this. The ball's out. You'll see another example of this later on. Actually, I think it's with Josh Johnson too. The ball's out, but he plays football to the whistle. Through the whistle. Sometimes you have to teach people to play to the whistle. You don't have to teach that with Trey Hendrickson. By default, he plays through the whistle. I love it. You want 11 players playing defense for you like this on the field at the same time. That's how you end up with great playoff defenses like the Bengals had in 2021. I know that people didn't show up to watch plays of him not getting sacks, not getting quarterback hits. So, we're going to move on to some of the pass rush stuff. This is a sack, a forced fumble, actually, in the playoff game against the Raiders. This is the Raiders' second possession. And Hendrickson, look, you can't do this. You can't do this against him. You can't leave him one-on-one with a tight end. It's a complete mismatch. And Foster Moreau is a solid football player, but he cannot handle Trey Hendrickson by himself. No tight end can do that. All right, no tight end can. Hendrickson makes plays, and he finishes things. I love what he does to shed this block with Foster Moreau. I know that Moreau is not a tackle, but watch how he goes through the progression of using his hands to defeat this. His right hand right now is on the tricep of Moreau. He gets it to Moreau's wrist here, and you can see his left hand is currently not making contact with Moreau. He's going to long arm Moreau with his left hand while his right hand still has control of the wrist. He just pushed the wrist this way and brought his left hand under. So naturally bringing his left shoulder and elbow under. Slight rip, not a great rip, but just a slight rip, accelerates through. Beautiful play. Wrist control, there you are for the wrestling guys. Pushes the wrist to his left, breaks Moreau's posture, finishes with a strip sack. Beautiful play. And one thing to say about Hendrickson in this game and his impact on the defense overall, it's a huge turnover, great play. His impact is bigger than just this play. He had a concussion. He suffered a concussion, I believe, in the third quarter. When he left the game, here's the stat that shows you his impact, and then we'll compare it to him after he left the game. Prior to him leaving the game, the Bengals' pressure rate with Hendrickson on the field, their pressure rate against the Raiders was 44% of pass plays. Thereafter, when he left the game, the Bengals' pressure rate dropped off the map, falling to 9%. Of course, we know the Raiders almost tied the game in the final minute. I think they lost 26-19 if they'd gone for two. If they score and then they go for two, I guess they have an opportunity to win, right? But Jermaine Pratt made a touchdown-saving interception of Carr on the goal line. I think that stat alone can show you that his absence was huge. We'll do some more pass rush stuff because I think that's what people probably show up for. 14 sacks, made the Pro Bowl for the first time. He's got 27 sacks in the last two seasons. Look, he was signed from the Saints after 2020, and I know that the two biggest signings or draft, guys for the Bengals has been Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow. I get it. And Chase is a phenomenal player, Hall of Fame talent. Having said that, I think the Bengals defense was just as impactful towards their Super Bowl run, and I said that many, many times. Let me get back to that point in a minute. This tackle is jumping Hendrickson. What that means is he's not setting back at a particular angle and letting Hendrickson kind of determine the progression of the moves that's going to happen. He's jumping him. So in the street, jumping means, jump somebody from behind, jump somebody from the side, or maybe two or three people do it. And so it's something you're not looking to happen, something that catches you by surprise. That's the same idea with the tackle. He's jumping Hendrickson. Hendrickson responds to it well, pad level, finishes the play. That was a second down. Unfortunately for the Bengals, and even though this is a great move by Hendrickson, Aaron Rodgers just shows you how he's just a demigod as a quarterback. 3rd and 16 late in the game. I actually showed this play in a breakdown for Jesse Bates. As Hendrickson is closing on him, Aaron Rodgers uncorks this throw that Randall Cobb catches, and Jesse Bates collides with him, almost knocks himself out, I think. But look back here. Big moments. Trey Hendrickson is going to be there. The guy has impact. I'm a huge fan. I'm a Ravens fan. I'll be up front. But I try to be one, and hopefully I am, who sees the game clearly no matter what color jersey or helmet a person has on. Trey Hendrickson got chipped by a tight end or maybe a running back and then runs this inside stunt. He is hell on this inside stunt. It's not like his sacks all come from a speed rush or they all come from an inside move or whatever. I find him to be very balanced, not just across techniques, run, pass drop, also balanced across all the pass rush techniques that he uses. Beautiful stuff. I hope you appreciate it as much as I do. If you do, let me know in the comment section. If you don't, that's fine too. Trey Hendrickson typically plays on the right. Sam Hubbard plays on the left. This is that same game that I showed you the RPO where he defends the snag concept by getting in the window. Another inside move, and he's a little bit nasty, like I referred to earlier. He'll hit you a little bit after the ball is released. Ball is out. Maybe some people would say this should be a penalty. As a Ravens fan, you would expect me to say that. Look, I'm a defensive guy, and I respect people who play through the whistle. Maybe in this day and age, that's a penalty in some cases, but I like the fact that he's exerting pressure on people, and he's getting after him. You should want a guy like Trey Hendrickson on your team. I do, for real. Unfortunate job by the Ravens of scheming this pass pro. They leave Patrick Ricard one-on-one with Trey Hendrickson. Watch how easily he defeats him with this move. I'm not saying that he's going to beat the offensive tackles this easily with this move, but that's a fullback who doesn't spend nearly as much time in pass pro as left tackles and right tackles do. Easy win for Trey Hendrickson. They're lucky he didn't force a fumble there. Better burst than people give him credit for. Way better technique and moves. Is he a technician? I don't know if I'd apply that word to him. He's just very balanced. I would imagine that it's not fun practicing against this guy because he seems like a guy who goes 100% all the time. Against the Jets, he's going to get this like zone protection to him. This is run plays. Actually, my apologies. Let me bring this back. Split zone type look where the offensive linemen are all going to step to our right on the screen, their left. And then this H-back or tight end is going to work back across the formation, presumably to kick out the end man on the line of scrimmage, which is Hubbard. And I think Trey Hendrickson is equally adept at stopping the run as he is to rushing the passer. Statistically, I don't know what he's ranked. I don't really pay attention to those things, to be honest with you. I love that he consistently gets his hands on the inside, locked out, meaning his arms are extended. Look, he's got his left hand in there. He wins with technique, tenacity, pursuit, a lot stronger than people give him credit for. You'll see a couple of reps later against Orlando Brown and Ben Cleveland, two humongous offensive linemen in the NFL, where he's able to stand his ground no matter the size of the guy he's dealing with. I'm going to show you a series of run plays here. It's against Tennessee. He's reliably on the right side. Very rarely did they move him to the left. A couple of plays against the Ravens in Week 7, they switched their sides. I'm not sure why. And I think you're going to get Taylor Lewan, the left tackle, stepping to him, trying to expand him. Similar concept to what I just showed you. He's getting the tackle stepping to him. He does a great job of holding his ground and trying to reestablish the line of scrimmage, like you're taught to, like a decades-old fundamental concept. Reestablish the line of scrimmage, 1 yard in the backfield, and then force the running back to go inside of you. That relies on team defensive structures. You've got a great play here by number 98. I will roll on this back so you can see it. Team defense is what made the Bengals defense spectacular in 2021, if you ask me. We'll let you see it one more time. He doesn't make the tackle. There is no statistical attribution for Trey Hendrickson on some of these plays. They being the Bengals, they're bringing this inside linebacker to the play side. I don't think he was reading the center. Some people would read the center in a zone structure because he's generally going to take you to the play. But the guy who's winning the matchup here is 98. I think that's DJ Reader. He had a spectacular game against Tennessee. Wins pretty easily against that left guard. but Trey Hendrickson had to set an edge in order for the interior defensive lineman to be able to win that battle and put himself in position. Out here a little bit wider now, and he's going to get a pulling lineman. I think it's the right guard for the Ravens, Kevin Zeitler. This is your classic old school 50 stand-up defensive end, setting the play inside with his inside shoulder, trying to get his pads lower than the pulling lineman. You've got a 320-pound guy who pulled from somewhere in this area here with a full head of steam. I mean, he does dislodge Trey Hendrickson slightly, but he doesn't knock him back. Now, simultaneous to that, you also have Alejandro Villanueva's got a 4-eye technique. So a 4-eye means a D tackle who is inside shade of him and stepping to him, getting hands on him. Villanueva doesn't win his matchup, and the running back ends up running into Villanueva's left foot. But I offer to you that doesn't happen if Trey Hendrickson doesn't keep the gap inside of him smaller. If he gets expanded and this gap becomes larger, which is big enough already for a running back to fit through, but he keeps it tight enough in terms of condensing that gap, because it's not just about being in your gap. Like, he could be out here. His feet could be out here. He's still in his gap. Oh, coach, I'm still in my gap. No, you're not. You created a big-ass hole on the gap inside of you. Trey Hendrickson doesn't do that. Trey Hendrickson is sound in everything he does. His feet are here. He's in his gap. Simultaneously, he's made this gap inside small enough that because of Villanueva's inability to get any movement on that D tackle, the running back ends up tripping over Villanueva's feet. I don't think Hendrickson gets credit for the play. I'm just showing you how he does things in a fundamental manner, and it works. It works for his sack numbers. It works for the team defense. Against the Jets, here he is off the right side again. Tried to crack down on him. Now, they did successfully crack him a couple of times in this game, okay? So they've got a tight end lined up outside of him who's looking directly at him. So maybe he got a call, but watch how he sidesteps this. This tight end has a great angle to step down on him. Hendrickson steps inside and then goes over the top. Doesn't make the tackle, but he has the inside-out pursuit angle to allow the force players and, I believe, a linebacker in Pratt to make the tackle. Using the sideline as a defender. There's his two help defenders, and he's running on the inside out, so the running back just can't, or in this case, receiver, can't just put his foot in the ground and cut it up because there's inside out pursuit. Everything they did was fundamental in Cincinnati in the playoffs. This is not a playoff game, and it's a game they lost. He does get reached here. This is one of the few times I've seen him get reached. This tight end is going to reach him. He's lined up in an unusual stance for him, at least, not in the typical stance that he's in. I think this outside tight end releases outside, and Hendrickson gets reached on this jet sweep, which he did not get reached a lot of. I watched 7 games for this video. That, what you see right there, is quite rare. And I am going to present some bad pass rep drills as well. I try to keep a balanced view of things and show you some of the things I've seen that could be construed as negative. There's not much that's negative about Trey Hendrickson. You really can't apply blame to him on this one. You have a really tightly aligned X. I think that might be Crowder, but I could be wrong. And this is a great drill to teach. To be honest with you, it's a fun drill to teach. In practice, you don't crack people like this. You don't hurt your teammates 100% like this, but he cracks the mess out of Trey Hendrickson here. That's one of the few things that I have seen teams do to the Bengals to get out on the edge, is crack, and I've shown you so far in this video 3 attempts of the Jets doing so to his side. So there's something that the Jets coaching staff saw in terms of how they could attack the Bengals defense. I did mention in many other videos for the Ravens that the Bengals generally play with soft corners who are lined up off. They're not playing a ton of press man unless it's 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, whatever. But the Jets, they were able to get the edge multiple times on these crack schemes, and this one was pretty violent in terms of what they did to Trey Hendrickson. I'll show you the end zone angle here, and he's going to get the crack from 88. Obviously, that's not Crowder. I'm not sure what that guy is, who that guy is, to be honest with you. Pretty physical play here. Lifts Hendrickson up. Hendrickson's expanding with the tackle. No awareness of the crack scheme, so he didn't get any call from any of his teammates lined up outside of him. Usually you can reliably get a call from someone outside of you when the receiver's lined up tight and he's looking in at this type of angle. You either cracking a linebacker or a defensive end. Cool play. Love the crack scheme, crack toss. Old school concept, been used for decades. It'll never go away. But that's pretty rare for Trey Hendrickson, like I said. All right, 2 examples of how to show you how strong he is. He's lined up in a 4. So a 4 in the system I know is head up on the tackle. He's not going to engage the tackle, though. He's going to be matched up with Ben Cleveland. Watch the push-pull. We used to call this a jerk move because it's jerk defensive line that used it a lot. But if you use it well, it's effective. He doesn't get involved in the tackle, but watch how he manipulates a 355-pound man like that, getting inside hand position with the left hand, pushing and then pulling easy to get that blocker off of. He's reactive. He's instinctive. One of my favorite football players to watch film of. Now over here in the AFC title game, he's dealing with Orlando Brown, another huge mountain of a man. He does get involved in this tackle. Orlando Brown's actually got inside hand position with the left hand. You'll see he kind of folds up and lifts up Trey Hendrickson's shoulder pad. Trey Hendrickson's able to redirect, get off of him, and get involved in the tackle. Complete football player. Let me know if you agree with my assertion that he's the most underrated. Let's start here. Is he the most underrated edge player in the NFL? That's fine. If you don't think so, I do. Is he the absolutely most underrated player in the entire league? Because he already has great statistical impact, but he's generally not mentioned among the top edge guys in the NFL for whatever reason. Playing off here on the right-hand side, I think this is going to be a loss. But you see his tenacity. It's an interception by the inside linebacker, Pratt. I am wrong. That is absolutely not a loss. I love the angle he's taken. He does have his left hand on the inside. Right hand looks like it's up high. So he's going low with the inside hand, high with the outside hand. That's a common technique you use sometimes on a bull rush. I don't know if he got a QB pressure there nor a hit. Against the Chargers, we're here on the left side of our screen. This is a game where the Bengals fell behind 24-0, made a furious comeback, and I think lost 41-22. Tackle does a nice job of not oversetting. One of the few examples of him getting into a move, but his pad level not being low enough to make it work. He's not a Von Miller type who gets super low and has that great bend. Not that he has stiff hips at all, but he doesn't present you with the same threat of a speed rush like a Von Miller, like a Chandler Jones. I did think he had trouble with Lewan in that AFC divisional round game. Only one tackle that I'm aware of was the sack that I showed you earlier. I don't think he even should have played in that game, to be honest with you. I think he was. I don't think he was back to 100% yet, but he played as a Warrior, as a team player against Orlando Brown in that division game. Another one where he's trying to get outside. Watch the series of moves he uses with his hands. Let me bring that one back one more time for you. You can tell how well-trained he is, not just for 1 year with the Bengals. He's been well-trained for a long time because the use of his hands is quick. It's immediate. Orlando Brown stuck his left hand out there, tried to draw out Hendrickson's move early. Hendrickson didn't fall for it. Two-hand chop on Orlando Brown's right hand. Gets him outside of Orlando Brown's frame. Brown just sticks with him, takes a good angle, and rides him out of there. Hendrickson had a hell of an impact on 2 third-down rushes later in the game. How can you deal with him? Sometimes 2 tight ends gets the job done. I showed you Foster Moreau failing to block him earlier. Patrick Ricard failing to block him. Early in the game against the Chargers, they kept 2 tight ends to block him. And to block him, he didn't get anything done. All right, 2 of the best plays that I've seen him make. Most timely and clutch, I guess I'll put it that way. 3rd and 3, this is the Chiefs' 4th possession of the second half. So him and B.J. Hill have already combined for that interception in terms of Hendrickson getting in the window and then B.J. Hill making the interception on the backwards RPO, just basically play action. 3rd and 3, Bengals are going to rush 3. They fake with 2 different safeties on the blitz. Neither one of them blitzes. Logan Wilson drops out of there. 3-man rush. He's battling Orlando Brown off balance, gets knocked down. Mahomes pulling off the Mahomes magic that he does so well, trying to find time and space. Orlando Brown gets one more shot in on him and then stops playing football. Trey Hendrickson keeps playing football. And him and B.J. Hill combine for a huge sack. Again, that's the fourth possession of the second half. This is during that time period when the Bengals utterly confused the Chiefs' offense and really just did an amazing job. Fifth possession, 3rd and 6. This one is not a split sack like I just showed you. Actually, I think B.J. Hill got credit for that sack. This one's just him beating Orlando Brown. Orlando Brown did the same thing that I mentioned the last pass rush I showed you between these two. Flashes his hands out here to try to draw out Hendrickson's move. Doesn't work. Hendrickson stays committed to what he's going to do. Same two-hand swat. It didn't work as effectively, but he does get outside of Brown's frame eventually. Maybe Brown is holding. Maybe it's just a hook that's quote, legal. In any case, Hendrickson's speed and burst at the end is what gets him a sack. Huge play. I think he's got a clutch gene. He seems like one of those guys that makes plays in big moments. This is the backwards RPO interception by B.J. Hill again. You guys let me know what you think. I mean, not just based off of this video, but other video or other film that you've seen. But don't comment and tell me he ain't no good if you ain't watched the film of it. Because you don't get 14 sacks in 2021 and 13 and a half sacks in 2020. That doesn't happen in consecutive years if you're not a hell of a football player. The one other thing I will mention, and I kind of alluded to it with that last play there that I know I've shown now 3 times, is he takes great pass drops. That's the third level to him that I really am interested in. He takes great pass drops. You can count the guys in coverage for the Bengals. You got 1, 2, 3, 4. Looks like a late rusher there. Hendrickson has dropped off. A linebacker has dropped off, and then I think you've got a nickel safety here. 4 DBs behind him in coverage. So he allows this defense to be more multiple when they have their nickel group on the field, when they have their base defense on the field. One of the things they were doing, and I'm going to rewind this video multiple times, one of the things they were doing that I think really bothered the Chiefs was wherever Travis Kelce was lined up in certain calls, certain situations, they were dropping that D end out. That was one of the tells that I thought I picked up on. And again, that was wherever the 3 technique was, which is, I think I explained briefly earlier in the video. Watch the 2 D tackles shift based upon Kelce's alignment. So I'm talking about these 2 guys here. They moved. When Kelce was up here to this side, this guy was further out. He was in a 3, and this guy was in a 1. As soon as Kelce moved to the other side, they shifted to a 1 and a 3. What's that mean? Hendrickson's going to drop out. They were trying to take away Kelce with a drop end, Hendrickson or Sam Hubbard, and an inside linebacker. And you can see they've accomplished that here. We know the result of this play is a first down. That's not what we're talking about. And then simultaneous to that allowed them to dedicate 2 guys to Tyreek Hill in certain situations. Even though you don't have 2 guys in his direct proximity, you have a safety over the top. This is a 3rd down. It is converted, I think, to Pringle. But the Bengals defense thrived on being versatile. They thrived on being multiple. And I think one of the big starting points, to be honest with you, was Trey Hendrickson. If you don't think he's the most underrated edge player in the league, let me know in the comment section. If you think he's up there somewhere, let me know. I thought he had an unbelievable impact in 3 areas of the Bengals defense: rushing the passer, playing against the run to his side and away from him, and then also the threat of dropping out was big. I showed you enough examples, I think, to illustrate that it is effective, even when the Bengals only rushed 3, which they did like 6 or 7 times in the second half against the Chiefs in that upset. If you enjoyed the video, please consider liking it and subscribing to my channel. I have one more video coming out that's of this manner, the most underrated defensive back in the NFL. If you have any guesses as to who that is, let me know in the comments section.